from a sales perspective, I was reading a thread today that was about what's the future of sales. Well, I mean, I think we're living it, right? I mean, it's ever changing, it's evolving, and it's just like any other industry that changes. But we're just right now, it's changing at an accelerated pace because we're having to throw in these new tools. I remember when social selling was an anomaly like 5 years ago. Now it's the norm. Now it's just selling because you're having these virtual conversations. You hit on something earlier about the opportunity to talk to some of these C-level folks. Nobody's traveling. Nobody's commuting. So it's in some ways a lot easier to get a hold of some of these people. Nobody's geographically out of bounds. And, it's funny, I was trying to set up a session the other day that normally I would do here locally because everybody'd come together and I could pull in resources for that. And I was having a tough time scheduling. And then it's like, why, I'm not confined to the resources that are in my backyard anymore. I could go anywhere globally because it's virtual. So it opens up a lot of new possibilities. We were talking a little bit earlier about, okay, so pipeline. If you're a seller, you're a leader, pipeline is paramount. You're always going to be asked about your pipeline. Where is this? What blockers are you having? What's the prognosis? But in a situation like this, since March of last year up until now and really into the future, everything is impacted by the state of, the state of the world, right? So how did you address that? What did you do? Because you were talking about deals that had very long sales cycles. So how did you address it? How did you pivot? And then going forward, I mean, what is the right way to bring kind of a new lens to a completely inexact science?
So there's a couple things that I focused on. There are relationships that had been built that, because at the end of the day, the one thing that none of us know still to this day is where a lot of people are going to end up, right? Like I was fortunate throughout the last part of 2020 to connect with some pretty amazing people and have gotten back on my feet in a really great opportunity. But some are still like trying to figure all that out. And the one thing that I worked on for my pipeline and was super like hyper aware of was, as everything was becoming virtual and as everything was changing, the need and desire to have live events was changing in a certain way. So where we talked about earlier how there was a sales kickoff meeting. Now you can do your sales kickoff meeting. You can get all the stuff you need to in 2 days, do everything virtual, save a boatload of money. It's not the same. You're not having that same interaction with your team, but you can still cover a lot of the nuts and bolts. The one thing that a lot of my customers were constantly trying to figure out that was way more important than a live event was, are the offices going to open back up? So like I handled the vertical within the like financials. So think the big four accounting firms, KPMG, PwC. So obviously most of their employees were able to work remotely. They have offices in every state and most continents. Their biggest thing was, we can't send our team out to train on new tax laws and all this different stuff that we constantly had to do because we don't even know when we can send them back to the office, because county by county, the rules were different. And as the level of infections changed and ebbed and flowed, they just didn't know. And so the key was just understanding what they're going through on their end and understanding, okay, the last thing that they're worried about right now is a live event. They're worried about, one, am I going to have a job? Two, where am I going to, like, where are my team members going to be deployed to? Are they going to work from home? Are we going to give up office space? So they had like way bigger questions to answer than, where are we going to have our annual sales meeting? Where are we going to do our quarterly training thing? So the process in maintaining that relationship was just understanding and mostly just listening. So I would do probably 1 or 2 calls a week with just customers that had become friends. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? Well, this week sucked. I had to lay off 2 more of my team members. And then that survivor's guilt that I felt, I knew they were feeling it. So I'm like, tell me about it. Like, how you feeling? And they're like, it sucks. Like, why am I still fortunate enough to have a job and all of my friends don't? And so just listening and being there for them, that's maintaining that pipeline. And when you go to the whole like social selling, I think, and you can attest to this as somebody who's been doing this for a while, the people who last in sales and who really see some true success and grow in leadership, there's a passion to, developing those relationships, because it's not about it's not transactional. And so one of the key things that I had kind of deployed in 2019, way before this, is, loving on those relationships as if it was like a friend or like my wife. And so just constantly showing up, sending random stuff in the mail. A friend of mine that I don't know if you had a chance to connect with, that John Ruin.
I did. Yeah.
Awesome. I actually, the most viral social selling thing I ever had was he shared a video of the gift I sent him and his family, which was pretty wild. So anyways,
very cool.
I deployed a lot of that. And then interestingly enough, he showed up all the time for me, which was just very humbling. Like, this guy runs an amazing organization, the best-selling author, a keynote speaker that flies all over the world to, talk to heavy-hitting organizations. He was on Gary Vaynerchuk's Marketing for the Now yesterday. And I mean, on a Thursday, he'd send me a video. Essner, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Thinking about your brother. Like, let's connect. And so that's when you have some people that have your back. And it was the kind of motivation that kept me going, because there were days where you're just like, what the hell's going on? Where do I turn? What am I doing next? I reached out to you. You and I had a great conversation in July. So there are people who are in sales and in leadership that when you reach out to them, and it wasn't even like a time of need for me, it was more of a time of like, where am I going? And
right.
Like the conversation you and I had, you were like, listen, if I can help in any way, I'm here. And we probably hadn't talked other than text messages in probably 3 or 4 years. And we connected and, hit it off just like that, because, when you have a good relationship with someone, that's what you do.
Man, you said a mouthful. I love what you said about the relationship piece. And I mean, that's really what it's all about at the end of this. And just look, everybody that you talk to, don't care if they're a C-level, don't care if they're a best-selling author, globe-trotting professional, they're all people at the end of the day. I've been amazed. I mean, and you and I, we went to school in a small town, and we graduated college like you're supposed to do, and we kind of moved away and went in different directions. But the amazing thing, the thread, is that ability and willingness to look for ways to improve ourselves and seeking out other people to enrich our own lives and hopefully add value for them. I mean, I'm always cognizant, or I have been in the past, especially when I've started in new roles or things of that nature, that I may not have much to offer up front. But if we maintain the relationship over time, I'm always going to respond. I'm always going to communicate. I'll always try to add value where I can. And sometimes it's not, I've worked at different organizations. I've worked at large companies. I've worked at small companies. And, I've made recommendations. I've made introductions to people, sometimes that are competitors. I'll do whatever I can for the relationship itself, because that's what matters. We live in a world now where it's very rare to spend your entire time, your entire career with one organization. It's almost unheard of. I thought that I would spend my entire career at one location earlier in my life, and that didn't happen. Things go in a certain direction. And but I think the thing is, you look back, and sometimes the things that at the moment seemed the most debilitating were the best blessings and pointed you into a new direction that beget new opportunities, new relationships, and new learning. And I think what you hit on really highlighted that, because the next